Ooh, alright. Woo. This is light work. Come on, spill the tea. Yeah. Ooh.
You are now tuned into DAR Sports Media. Hopefully, we will get this show over in less than 6 hours, which it appears is what's the show's gonna be like tonight. They're on AEW Forbidden Door. Which, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of discourse about that right now going around the old interwebs. Personally, that shit could be 10 hours for all I give a fuck. I'm sitting on my couch eating fucking popcorn. My only thing is, like, I feel like people, you feel like you can't deny. Well, I guess it depends on what you consider the quality of a wrestling show. To me, in my personal tastes, once the crowd dies and they have no more energy to give the show, that is a decrease in the quality of the show. To me, if that's not how you feel, or how the listener out there you feel, that you don't care, you're totally focused on what's going on in the ring and the crowd's reaction to it or not lack of reaction to it, it doesn't affect the quality of it, then I guess you could say to you that doesn't affect the quality of the show. Sure. That's my only thing regarding the longer shows. I could give a shit. I'll watch that shit all day long, especially with the, generally the quality that you get out of AEW in-ring stuff. But that's my take on the length thing. We're gonna do WWE up front, and then if you're here to get pumped for Forbidden Door, you want just a little bit of preview, a little bit of thoughts. We ain't gonna preview the whole show because, again, we need to get this recorded before the show starts. If we try to go over every match, that ain't gonna happen. But if you want thoughts on Forbidden Door, go ahead and just go to the 20-minute mark of this recording, and that's where we'll be hitting that. First and foremost, I think it's weird, man, because the weeks of wrestling and the things that happen online, it makes things that happened this week feel like it was a long time ago. But, last week on the show, we discussed what would or would not happen in this Wyatt Sicks situation. And it was interesting because literally the exact thing that we kind of talked about, where we talked about, how are they going to balance that this is kind of a horror thing with the emotions that are attached for the people involved and for the fans watching, regarding the fact that it's a tribute to a wrestler that a lot of people, and a person that a lot of people loved who passed away tragically. How is this going to work? And then they went ahead and answered us, and I didn't see any person out there who was not completely fucking blown away by what happened on Monday. I literally was like, an actual gasp came out of me when I was watching that segment on Monday. With just, I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect that. I didn't expect them to just straight go for it. How did it feel when your brother died? Like, holy shit. Goddamn. It seemed like it took everyone's breath away. It seemed like, they really fucking nailed it home. What did you expect? To us just let him become a mausoleum? Like, no. Yeah, that was so far so good. Fucking phenomenal. I didn't see anybody who thought that was anything less than 10 out of 10. And I remember last week saying, hey, let's just see what Bo Dallas got, because I think he has more to give than what people think. If they didn't see all of his NXT run, I think he has more to give than people expect. And, you had your doubts last week. How do you feel this week after seeing that segment?
I was extremely satisfied with the way that they pivoted from what happened last week to, well, I guess what happened 2 weeks ago to what happened, this past week. And I think Bo Dallas being shown it's like a multiple personality concept, and I think that's gonna be what happens for all of them, which means you might see Dexter Lumis talk, you might see Joe Gacy, you might see Eric Rowan, and definitely gonna see Nikki Cross, which I'm excited for that. I think we said that kind of last week, that to me Nikki Cross probably was gonna be the star of this to me, and
awesome this week as well. Again.
Yeah, but for me, adding that emotional element to it with Bo Dallas completely takes over the top, and now you're invested in it. It's all you needed to do was just execute it right. But I was just worried because I was like, man, how can you make every single person in this group compelling if a lot of people, and not everyone, but a good amount of people didn't find, say, maybe half of them compelling prior, or some people, none of them. And I think what you do with Bo Dallas is you put him in that position, you show that he is carrying on his brother's work, but he's also adding his own element to it. And he's also just his own man too at the same time. And I mean, from the moment the Uncle Howdy stuff started, I was not a huge fan of it, but now they've weaved it into a way where it's almost like it's a mix between we're here to avenge the loss of this man, but also it's almost like they're heartbroken. It's like a heartbroken group of misfits and outcasts.
They're fueled by grief. That's what I called it. They're fueled by grief, and that hit fucking, for you too, for both of us. That really fucking hits home.
Yeah, for damn sure. And I think that's what works, and it worked out perfectly to me how it went. And I just sat there watching it like, yo, they nailed this shit. Like they nailed this. And I was, like I said, I was skeptical, but they surprised the hell out of me. So kudos to Bo Dallas. Kudos to the entire Wyatt Sicks. I am just, the one thing I'm waiting for is when it becomes time to get in the ring, and it becomes time to start an actual feud. Then we'll see, because it's such a polarizing gimmick and a polarizing group that it has to work perfectly with whoever they go against, and there has to be something that lines up. And I'm just curious to see what they do with that, and who's the first targets, and who do they go after. It seems like everybody's trying to stay out their way right now, so they didn't get their ass beat. So I'm interested to see that, because vignette wise, and I think it's the same thing with Bray, right? Like vignette wise, promo wise, Bray was fucking phenomenal. But then you get to like some of the like feud and some of the matches, and it would kind of, just be little less than what you hope for. So
personally,
so
I
Bo Dallas
really
can wrestle,
especially during the Fiend run. I never really understood what people's big issue was with him bell to bell. I fucking loved it. But again, everybody's tastes are fucking different. We know at least 3 of them can fucking cook in the ring, right, between Bo Dallas, Rowan, and Nikki Cross. And I'm not saying Gacy and Loomis cannot. They just have not had been set up to show that yet in what they've done in the WWE. I'd say there's a solid chance it could be real good in the ring when it starts. And like you said, not only is this going back to the fueled by grief thing, it's not just, Bo Dallas carrying on the legacy and then putting his own thing, but that thing he's putting in is his own fucking grief for losing his brother. And that's like, holy shit. Like, we kind of all hoped like, okay, Wyatt's legacy with Bo Dallas' own stuff put into it, but it isn't just stuff. It's real deep shit, the deepest shit that you could possibly go with. So, home fucking run. Speaking of home runs on that show, it looks like we're fucking finally gonna get, hopefully Monday, for real, we're gonna get Gable with Ivy and the Creed brothers. You want to talk about fucking cooking, man? I'm fucking, obviously I've been waiting for this for months and months and months. I've been saying it. And I think that Otis, Maxine, I think, and especially Tozawa, they could be doing better stuff as well, separated. So fucking extremely excited to be moving on with this.
I agree. I think Gable he's executed his heel character extremely well in the short time since he's turned.
Yeah, that's what's crazy, is it feels like it's just getting started. Like once he gets this backing behind him, oh my gosh.
I will say it's interesting because he's Gable's in the ladder match for the Money in the Bank.
Yeah, he sure is.
And as you look at the list of names in there, I don't expect Andrade to win. I don't expect Carmelo Hayes to win. And so it comes down to three guys that you could flip a coin, and I think everybody would be okay with them winning the Money in the Bank ladder match and winning a briefcase. But I also don't expect LA Knight to win because he's about to beat Logan Paul at SummerSlam for the United States Championship.
When you narrow it down like that, it kind of
the two-person.
So, you expect LA Knight to go on to go against Logan Paul in SummerSlam, which, by the way, the other night in fucking Madison Square Garden, getting a pin over him, fucking dope, amazing shit. You expect that to happen. You expect Drew McIntyre to get fucked by CM Punk, of course, because the last thing we saw was Punk being laid out by Drew. So that's, you expect Punk to do a run in, and I'm excited for whatever spot that's going to be when everybody is laid out, fucked up, and it looks like Drew's just gonna waltz up there and get the briefcase, and then bam, here comes Punk fucking it over,
knocking him off the ladder and all that shit.
Gonna be amazing. Yeah. And then there they go to SummerSlam. Gonna be all SummerSlam's shaping up, man. That's gonna be a fucking bust ass card. At least for some of this stuff. I think some of the main events are looking a little bit shaky. So we'll get to that. We'll get that in a minute. Yeah. Okay, so you got that stuff, and then you said Melo and Andrade. Well, you take out those two other guys. Kind of feeling like Chad Gable, and Chad Gable would be have an awesome run, like threatening to fucking win the Money in the Bank. So I don't hate it.
So to me, it all boils down to: are we going to go with the Yeet Man, or are we going to go with Gable? And I think that's the flip the coin right there. Is like you can go with the guy who's super over and well known, who has yet to really crack through, or you can go with the guy who's proven himself now as a heel and an amazing in-ring performer. You can't really lose when you look at it that way, right? I mean, we're literally less than a week away from Money in the Bank, so it's funny because I thought Gable turning heel was for him to win the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah,
but it looks like
looks
like maybe he could be Mr. Money in the Bank, and maybe that Intercontinental Championship is going elsewhere and not to him, based on what I'm feeling.
If you really heated up Gable, really heated him up with this crew behind him, I mean, the World WHC, man, that kind of feels like a perfect belt for a guy like that. And then, a feud with fucking Rollins, those matches would be fucking amazing to get it over all the rest of it. But Chad Gable's already pretty fucking over. He was getting the "You Suck" chant a couple weeks ago with his music. But I think it's completely realistic.
So the one thing that is concerning about that is Chad Gable wins the briefcase. Seth Rollins beats Damian Priest, which I feel like that's almost a given now because Seth is only getting his belt to drop it at SummerSlam to Gunther. I believe that is what's happening. And so the Gunther thing is right there. And I think that's the elephant in the room where it's like anything that happens now with Chad Gable cashing on him, I could see it. It's like with Jey Uso, if Jey Uso wins, when he cash in on him, I could see that too. And so there's this element of like you don't know what to expect. And I actually think it's a good thing because we're sitting here guessing and trying to figure it out.
That's what usually about, man.
Usually you can tell from a mile away where things are going. And I am glad that we don't have really any way to tell. I mean, even for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you. Is it gonna be Chelsea or is it gonna be Tiffy time?
It's such a tough one because it's like Chelsea would be hilarious, and I like there'd be a great bit.
She'd be so good with
great bit. But in terms of potential and who's the next up, it's like it almost has to be Tiffany. And I know she was in the doghouse for a couple weeks about whatever that shit is that allegedly I don't remember. I don't really remember seeing it, but I think it would probably be Tiffany. Has to be Tiffany. But Chelsea would be a great choice as well. like just Chelsea all of a sudden being like laid out, and then everybody gets knocked out, and then she just randomly gets up and wakes up and doesn't realize what's happening, and she goes, oh shit, and she runs up the ladder and gets the briefcase. That'd be cool too. But looking at the like competitors, I would say Tiffany has to probably win that one because she is set up to be the next star in the women's division. So but the one thing that sticks out to me about this Money in the Bank thing is that Sami Zayn, like I said, I thought Chad Gable was being built up to dethrone Sami Zayn.
Yeah, but Braun.
And it looks like Braun Breaker is about to be the next I can't imagine him losing to Sami Zayn right now. I don't see that making much sense right now. I don't see that really making much sense. So, I mean, Braun, because Braun is he's
everything.
Fucking, yeah, he's got it. He's working. He is getting to that point where it's like this guy's a future star here. He's somebody who, people are starting to get even more familiar with. They weren't familiar with him in NXT. I am excited to see it. He's a tank. That boy is a tank, and he's going out there and just running through people. And Sami Zayn has had 3-4 months with the belt, so good little solid run. Now you pass the baton to Braun and see what he can do. So I'm excited for that too.
Exciting thing that happened the other night in the Garden. This Bloodline deal going to a new chapter.
Oh man,
Paul Heyman getting fucking smoked. Oh my gosh. Thoughts on where all this is headed?
I'll tell you where I don't want it to be. I don't want the SummerSlam event.
I would say, man, there is enough time. There's 2 months. Or no, SummerSlam is in July now, huh? The end of July.
It's August 3rd. August 3rd. So we got a month.
Shit. Okay. Because in my mind, it was still at the end of August. I say, hey, they have enough time
to
make Fatu, make Jacob Fatu fucking kill everybody. And then, you know what I'm saying? They've done that before where they've had somebody come in and have such fucking Vladimir Kozlov once upon a time. That's a fucking name pulled out of the past, but right?
Whoa.
You come on the scene and you just fucking murder everyone for 10 straight matches. It's like, oh shit. And then they put him in a title match. I think that'd be an awesome way to get Fatu over properly. But it looks like they're not going to do that.
It's, the match that most people were talking about that they wanted at SummerSlam was Randy versus Cody. I remember this. I saw people, we talked about it and said, no, they should, go a different route. And
well, there's some body language that implies that that's coming sometime sooner than later.
It's happening. So, you can see that that's happening. So I thought it would make a lot more sense for it to happen that way. And the one thing somebody said was, what if Randy just decides to RKO Cody and at Money in the Bank and wants to go after his title, and then they still set it up for SummerSlam, and the Bloodline don't actually get a match at SummerSlam, but they have a role in that. And I was like, it's too convoluted. It's just too convoluted. And I think the whole point is that Solo is supposed to avenge I guess what Roman, couldn't do, and he's getting orders from the final boss who
I think it's kind of like a half and half. That's what he's saying. That's what's supposed to be happening, but in reality, he's kind of taking over, actually. Yeah.
Trying to take a spot. So I'd rather watch paint dry than watch Cody versus Solo in a singles match at a pay-per-view for a championship. But I guess you gotta run with whatever they're trying to make happen, I guess. But I don't know, man. I'm not pressed to see this match. That is what it boils down to. I'm not pressed to see this match. I'm not pressed to pay attention to any of this shit. Honestly, the one thing I will say, the best part about this Bloodline story has absolutely nothing to do with Cody versus Solo. To me, it's literally this Jacob Fatu thing, and then you're now the Paul Heyman thing. It's like, I'm ready for the Bloodline Civil War. God damn it!
Yeah.
Get Roman back, get Jimmy back, get Jay in this motherfucker. Let's get this shit cracking. That's what I want. So
you get people with no fucking brain cells online. They're like, well, if fucking if Solo isn't going against Cody at SummerSlam, then how else do you bring Roman Reigns back? I don't know, another fucking way. Like Randy turning on Cody in this match and then getting the title shot at SummerSlam does not mean you can't bring Roman back. Like there's other fucking ways to do it, obviously. So what I was talking about.
So what I was told as a possibility is that while this 6-man tag is happening at Money in the Bank, Cody turns on Randy, Jimmy Uso returns and tries to take out Solo. And that leads to a Solo versus Jimmy Uso match, which is also horrible. But
that might make some sense as to why that's what finally draws Roman back out.
And so the whole thought would be like Solo turns his attention to Jimmy. It's like a pivot. And then what happens is that when Cody and Randy are happening, the Bloodline come out and they take out Jimmy earlier in the night at SummerSlam, and then they come out and attempt to take out Cody at like after he beats. I don't think Randy's winning the title anyway. So I think Cody overcomes Randy, and then they beat him down, and then Roman makes a return to save Cody, and there's like this weird Cody Roman thing, and it's like, but it's not really about saving Cody. Like there's ways they could do it, but it's like you got to execute it right. And I think they've kind of booked themselves match wise. Like everything else is booked perfectly. The match itself, Cody versus Solo, should not headline SummerSlam. Although I don't believe it is going to headline SummerSlam, even if it does happen. I think regardless, because they could always hold off the Roman return to like Raw or SmackDown after SummerSlam, just to give it a little more juice. And they could end with Punk versus Drew. That is something I've heard tossed around too. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the best feud in wrestling.
Yeah, so it's hard, man. It's a hard one to call because I don't think anyone's excited for Cody versus Solo as a big paper, like the second biggest pay-per-view of the year or not pay-per-view, but PLE as they want to call it, but for WWE. Should not be headlined by Cody versus Solo. It's just, it's just not. No, absolutely not.
Speaking of hard to pick which one, what are we looking forward to? Forbidden Door tonight, a couple hours as we record this.
Mercedes versus Steph. Yeah. Tony versus Mina. The ladder match for the TNT Championship.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty fucking wild, and also. Not just wild, but I'm interested to see, whoever wins it, there's a direction to take there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of interesting different directions things could go depending on the winner of the match. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with that one as well.
I'll say this, though. The 0 hour matches are really loaded. These are loaded matches. It's crazy because you got Mariah May wrestling against Saraya on 0 hour, which I don't care about Saraya, but this is interesting. They got a first round match for the Owen Hart Cup, and then you got a 4-way tag team match with like the most random cast of characters. You got Gabe Kidd coming in there when teaming with Roddy Strong against Ishii and Kyle O'Reilly. You got Malachi and Brody. You got Private Party in a match. You have Statlander and she's teaming with Momo. I think she's teaming with Momo against Willow and so those matches are matches that I'll be like, yo, I want to watch those matches, and you get those on 0 hours. So I hate the term, for the sickos that these people have commandeered and been forcing, but I think the 0 hour matches outside of Mariah versus Saraya is it's like a wrestling dream. You know what I'm saying? You're getting amazing matches, man. You're getting Takahashi and I think with Lucha Brothers and I can't even think of everybody off the top of my head because I'm not looking at it, but I just think Forbidden Door has a lot of good things on it wrestling-wise because, as we know, AEW weekly television and the ratings and all that stuff, not the best right now. But pay-per-views, they usually knock them out of the park. It's like 2 pay-per-views that they haven't knocked out the park in recent memory. But for the most part, they always And then I think the big elephant in the room here is that Swerve and Ospreay, obviously closing is headlining, but what's the direction here? Don't expect Ospreay to win, but then it's like, what's the direction for Swerve after? Who are we facing? You know, who's he gonna go against? How long is his reign gonna last? Or will Ospreay win because Hangman is bringing his drunk ass back, and they're gonna restart that, but with a different element? So
I would
there's
just say, and I've had actually pretty fucking strong feelings on this. We just haven't had time to get into it on any of these shows. I can't believe this is even happening the way it's happening, and I hope there is never a such thing as the rise and fall of AEW DVD. But if there is, this is going to be a chapter. I just can't fucking believe it. This is this. I don't fucking care what all of you people say about these other guys who have already had chances, and the viewership did nothing but go down while they were fucking having their run. This right here is their biggest match of two home. Well, obviously Ospreay had a lot of notoriety elsewhere, but to the Western audience, two homegrown stars, both on the rise at the same time, finally coming together, and it just feels kind of thrown away to me. I hope it works out, though. I hope it works out.
I have my thoughts on what this match is going to be like. I think Swerve and Ospreay are both focused on going out there for 30, 35 minutes, maybe longer, and putting on a class.
That's the thing, man. That's tough. They should go 30 minutes, and they should put on a classic. But if that shit's at the end of a 5-hour show, bro, like,
and there you go.
Is there going to be a crowd running with them? Like they deserve better. There's just a lot of levels that I feel both these guys and this match deserve better. I feel that there's like
two ways.
They deserve better as a build. They deserve better than to be at the end of a 5-hour show. They deserve.
There's two ways that they can make this work. The crowd's going to be tired out. So what you do is you give them all the good matches in the first hour, 2 hours. And then that last hour before the main event, you put the learning tree match, and then you put the elite. And then people are going to be like, and then they'll be waiting for something like, man, we want to get to Swerve and Ospreay. And then that's the way you do it. But then again, that might not even work because you got Jeff Cobb on one side with Big Bill. You got Samoa Joe and Spot on the other side. So in the learning tree match, people might be excited for that. Now that elite match, that should definitely be like the bathroom break match because the Acclaim versus I would not.
Oh
that God. Can go to fucking hell.
God.
No. And then Tanahashi's in the mix of that too. Like, really? Just tossing him in there with a Kata.
One of these days, they're going to do the thing that I've suggested a few times. Like I suggested with the Revolution card, and I'd fuck it. Have Ospreay and Swerve go out there first and fucking do whatever they need to do. Go as long as they need to go. Put on the match of the year. The crowd's going to be fucking ridiculous. And then you build the rest. You figure the rest of the show out around whatever is left after that. That to me would make up for a little bit of what the fuck the failures of this have been. But
look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I would be on board with this for Swerve and Ospreay to start the show, and you can end the show with either Tony versus Mina or Mercedes versus Stephanie, because Mercedes versus Stephanie is a winner take all match. That's a main event. Yes. So, and then obviously the best story,
their best built story is Tony against Mina. Yes, absolutely.
And so, I mean, you've been waiting to headline a pay-per-view with the the women at some point and give them a headline. I mean, this would be the best time. Everybody I talked to when I asked them, "Yo, what you excited about for the show?" Mercedes versus Steph, Tony versus Mina. I've been people saying, "No, Swerve versus Ospreay too," but it's like I would have preferred it like a little later on down the line, and
it's Forbidden Door, right? So what's the one of those matches? It's like a huge match that involves belts, that involves NJPW and AEW. That's Mercedes against Steph.
Yep.
So there you go. I mean, yeah, that would fucking rock. I fully agree.
You know what's funny? This is Forbidden Door, but it's like not a lot of AEW. It's not a forbidden. Like,
they've
yeah,
kind of
it's just
changed
weird.
the way. It's a lot more AEW centric, like more like a regular AEW pay per view.
It's probably because there's not a lot. It's not a lot of New Japan. They've taken two of their biggest stars and put them under AEW contracts. So it's like, all right, we don't have much. So
and like I said, and I don't know what the ins and outs of the deal they have struck is, but my idea for a couple of years is for Forbidden Door to be more like the original All In, where anybody from anywhere could fucking possibly show. That's the point of the show, is you don't know who the fuck's going to show up, from what promotion, or from the indies. I think that would be dope. I think it would be dope for a Zack Ryder, for a Matt Cardona to pop up on this show, or a people from TNA. Although I think that's probably a no now. Maybe
it's dead in the water.
Yeah. But they do have CMLL and NJPW, but it's like, is it Forbidden Door if they're showing up on your shows every week anyways? You know what I'm saying?
The Forbidden Door no longer exists. That's really what it does. It was a great novelty concept in 2022 because you were like, oh shit, like this is gonna be great. You get to see, Punk versus Tanahashi or whatever that was supposed to be the match, and we like, oh, Okada's gonna wrestle, and there's Hangman Page against this person, and there's this and there's that, and it stuck out to you because it's like, yo, we about to get the stuff that we never thought we could see.
Yeah.
Now it's just like every Wednesday
stuff out there that you're like, I never thought I would see, but it ain't CMLL and NJPW. Not saying I'm not excited to see those guys, because I am, but
no, for sure.
What I mean, yeah.
It's just what happens. I mean, in wrestling, it's like there's only so much you can do when you take a concept that's a novelty in the first place, and then you run with it, and then it becomes a yearly thing. You're gonna run out of ideas to the point where now you're booking just Mark Briscoe, Jack Perry, Dante Martin, Leo Rush, Takeshita in a ladder match, but there's like, where's the New Japan people? Where's the CMLL people? Like, you don't have too many of those. It's more that's an AEW match. And then the Learning Tree is an AEW thing. And then Hook and Samoa Joe, it's an AEW thing. It's all AEW. And then even with Mina, the Mina thing, Mina is, if you really want to be honest, Mina's basically like 2 steps away from being officially All Elite. So that's not even, a thing. And then, with the Okada and the Elite versus the Acclaimed, like you add Tanahashi in there to get a New Japan spot. It's the most like, why would Tanahashi team win the Acclaimed? Like, it's the most random pairing I've ever seen anyway. So and then obviously Swerve and Ospreay. If Ospreay was still in New Japan and not under AEW contract, then I could see this being done, right? So like, that's another thing. This is why it changes the element of the match. I'm going to be excited for the match, and I hope it's amazing regardless. But I know if Ospreay was still the biggest guy next to Okada and New Japan, and he came and challenged Swerve, that would make this feel like, okay, we got to have it now because this is the only time we'll ever get a chance to get it. Not like, oh, we could wait 2-3 more months and it wouldn't really make a difference. So we're just going to do it. And I think initially it was a desperation move, and desperation in the sense of AEW needed something to give it some life, and they thought that would work, and it hasn't necessarily worked like that. And I don't know what's next for.
And I think that's part of what they've. I don't know if you could call it done right, but we just congratulate the WWE for putting together a card where it's like, we don't know what's going to happen. I have a lot of questions about what is going to happen with this
absolutely
Ospreay Swerve situation, because all In is the next pay-per-view, and it looks pretty obvious that they're setting up Saraya for a trajectory to have a shot at Tony on the big show over there in England.
Good God help us.
What happens? It's a shame too, because if it had been pre-next Saraya could fucking cook, man. Like, her against this version of Tony would have been a good fucking match where they beat the fuck out of each other. But yeah.
So I'll say this. I think this is it's a pivot. I think Mariah May is going to win the Owen Hart Cup, and I think she's going to get the top.
It's a conflict. Yeah. I think it could be.
I think that's where they're going with this. I don't have any inside info on that one. I mean, I probably could ask it right now, but I think if you're gonna do it at All In, it has to be because Soraya won the belt last year at All In, and we were all like, ugh, why? So I don't think she needs that. I think the Mariah May story is so well done that this conflict and this whole thing, like, you know, this child, as Tony refers to her, you know, her in her bosom and stuff like that, is trying to grow up and all that. And this is how you live out where the story started from. The story started from was All About Eve or something like that, the movie from like the 50s. And the story is going to lead that it has to go that way. And we know Tony does not like to pivot from his stories. So I think that's what we're going to see here. And I think Mariah May is an excellent choice to win the Owen Hart Cup because she is fucking amazing. So I don't know. I don't know, though. I think the Mina and Tony match is going to be the one that people are glued to because it's like, you know, Tony's probably winning, obviously, but what role will Mariah play in that match? She's gonna be at ringside. She's gonna try to help somebody, and then it backfires, and then her and Tony have friction, and then like her and Mina have like there's this whole thing, and it's an interesting story. But the one thing I do worry about is after Mercedes obviously wins this match that she's about to have with Stephanie and takes both, what is her next step as AEW TBS champion?
Never mind. I was about to come up with something that on the face of it sounds like an awesome idea, but then when you remember what kind of control some people have in this company, I was about to say, well, you know, they're going to England, and there's a certain somebody from there who could put on a really fucking awesome match with Mercedes, who we haven't seen in a long time. Maybe. But
that's not gonna work for me, brother.
If there's a don't work for me, brother, that's gonna suck. So I don't know. The Ospreay thing. Well, before we move on from the ladies, I just want to throw out real quick because most improved player of the year, 6th man of the year, Harley Cameron. I am thankful for you. Anyways,
in so many ways.
She's a gem.
Very entertaining.
Yeah,
very
because hey, our fucking guy, the judge, finally fucking debuted where the fuck he should be as a fucking heater for Swerve. That was fucking amazing. Maybe they do a turn for Swerve, even though Swerve technically was always a heel. Maybe Ospreay wins tonight and goes into England defending the belt against Swerve, who's a heel trying to take it.
It's a very weird situation. I don't expect a definitive finish tonight. I'll be completely honest. I don't expect a definitive finish. And if it is
fucking weird to say at the end of a 5-hour show, but
I don't
that you did not have to book.
I would also watch out for MJF in this.
Oh yeah, our man Daniel Garcia. How about that? God fucking damn.
Yeah. Shout out to Daniel Garcia's 30th attempt to get TV time and pushed. Which is not on him. It's not on him.
Fuck no.
Not on him. It is on the So I don't know, man. I don't know what to expect with this. I feel like it's way too soon to end the Swerve title run. And I think Ospreay
way too unmemorable. Sorry, but it ain't his fault what they've
done. It's not his fault.
But
and I also think Ospreay
hot, historic, memorable run with memorable moments.
And I think what they did was, AEW tries to do a lot of 50-50 booking. They try to avoid people taking big losses if they can. And I think Ospreay winning the international championship, I think that was done so that a loss to Swerve does not knock him down, and that's this first official loss in AEW since he's. So I think that's what is the focus. I'll say this: I'd be on the lookout soon for the get back for Kenny Omega because he owes the Elite some get back. And I know they're doing Blood and Guts or whatever, and I wouldn't expect to see him in Blood and Guts per se, but his return is definitely nearing, and he's gonna be wrestling, and he's gonna be back, and that is gonna help AEW, I guess, get, you know, maybe get them out the 680s into like the 730s, 740s on a regular basis again. I can't call it, but I think we're gonna see some furthering of the story, and I think the Hangman Adam Page thing, he's obviously coming back, so there's gonna be a fun time for AEW fans to be like, oh, we're so fucking back, we're so back, because Hangman's gonna be back, Omega's gonna be back, but I would also watch for Hangman and this Osprey
Could be a lot going on.
A lot going on. I personally would just want them to have a one-on-one match, go out there and cook, and just do something great. But I don't believe that's going to be the case. Also, I'd also be on the lookout for an appearance soon from Adam Cole. Again, I know he got beat up by MJF, but we're running to All In. Adam Cole's not wrestling, but he won't be wrestling anytime soon, which is a concern. But also, as I say this, I thought about it. Mercedes Moné heading into All In might end up wrestling against a doctor who we haven't seen in a very long time.
True.
So, you know, the AEW is about to, what they're doing right now, based on what I do know, is that they're trying to restore the feeling. And in order to do that, and we're booking for the sickos, so they're trying to restore that feeling. And I think Mariah May versus Toni Storm, Mercedes versus Britt Baker at All In would make people feel that way. And I think Mercedes could go over Britt Baker, and then you can have the return of a lovely lady we haven't seen in a very long time for a hometown pop. And I think, you know, and as you know, putting two and two together there, who's connected to Britt Baker, who was last connected to Britt Baker, whatever, there's stuff there, because I don't think Jamie Hayter's 100% cleared. I think she's clear for activity, but her injury was very serious. And I remember AEW people telling me a year ago, we don't even know if she'll be back. So that's how serious it was for her. First it was February, then it was like May or June. Now it's like we're not 100% sure. So I wouldn't put Jamie Hayter back instantly, but I absolutely believe if Mercedes wins, you might hear the doctor will see you now, and Britt Baker comes out and they start that, because that Mercedes needs a big feud. The Willow thing was what it was, but she needs a big feud. Britt Baker is still Britt Baker, and they're going to give Mercedes more promo time. The only thing that's going to prevent Mercedes and Britt Baker from wrestling each other is that if you thought if you're waiting for a female, woman version of All Out Brawl Out, that's the closest thing you'll probably get to it in the women's division is Mercedes and Britt Baker, because as much as Mercedes is about doing business, as much as Britt Baker is about doing business, they're also very much about themselves. And but hey, it might make for compelling, interesting television, and people will want to watch it. So you know, you got to give the people what they might want, or what they don't even know they want yet until they get it. So excited for it.
People what they want is what we try to do here on DAR Sports Media. We're coming to you still with some NBA offseason coverage. It's going to get real spicy, real interesting on our next NBA coverage, because there's been a lot of shit that's happened in the last week. So we'll be coming to you this upcoming week with all of that. Of course, Weekend Wrestling, we're always available. I might have a little something simmering with the United Football Media that I'll be able to discuss here soon with their offseason content over there on that YouTube page. So if you're at all interested, check that out. They're still getting their plans ready to ramp up for their offseason content over there on the United Football Media. And we will be checking this out tonight. We'll be back with you next week. It's looking good for next week. So just so you know, even with the little bit of slowdown for right now, we still got plans in the works. We're still in contact with people, and the world of DAR never stops.